Good evening. Well, before I start, I would like everyone to think about this question. What do you think is the difference between our society and an isolated village? Well, I guess to think of it, the question is a little stupid because obviously we like to consider ourselves as anything but isolated. We call this world upon us a global village to show just about how closely linked together we are by the powers of technology. But have you ever thought about this? How are we isolated? And how are we being possessed by our possessions, letting technology restrict our abilities to express and interact as human beings? Well, ironically for me, it wasn't until last year when I visited this isolated village in the backcountry of Southern China that it hit me just about how isolated we were. So Mr. C is an English teacher from our school, and he's also the coordinator of our community and service aspects. And one of the many things he has done over the years is visiting this village back and forth to promote their culture and help them preserve their culture. And I guess you really do get inspired by the actions of others. And I saw what he was doing, and I thought it would be a really interesting project to join. So last year, along with him, Mr. Collins, and my parents, we went to a small village next to Guilin in an attempt to promote the Miao, Dong, and Yao minorities' culture. So we brought our cameras, and these photos I'm showing right now are actually pictures taken by Mr. Collins from the trip. And the idea was that we'd wander around the area, and we embrace hospitality and try to understand their culture through communication, interaction, and observation. And you'd be surprised by how much they managed to overcome certain barriers despite their lack of technology. For example, we were walking past this site where they were building a house. And they don't have any factories to manufacture steel or nails. And in our societies, nails is a very important part in house building because it's what puts the pieces together. It's what stabilizes these buildings. But for them, they don't have this resource. But what they do have is a lot of natural resources, and one of the most is trees. So they would drill these holes in these wooden logs so that different logs could fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. And also to further stabilize the structure, they made little wooden chunks that would fit into the cracks where these two logs would connect. And layers and layers of these wooden logs becomes the structure of the house and allows it to sustain and support. But after seeing how they build a house, I realized that it's not just about how they found a unique way of living. The resemblance between how they work and the methods employed in our most advanced modern industries is also astonishing. So, as mentioned, they don't have any language. So in order to record everything they need to do, what they have done, and delegate different tasks to different groups of workers, they created these wooden strips of different lengths and marked with different symbols, each representing a different task that needs to be done. And it's laid out on the side. And the idea is it's like a variation of a to-do list. So any workers could pick up a strip and then start working and then throw it away after the work is done. And by the time all the wooden strips are gone, the house would be built. And this is actually the core idea or the basis behind the Kanban system and also lean manufacturing that has been employed by Toyota, and it is still used in their operations today because unlike other methods, it doesn't require too much data logging, surveillance, and updating, and it's highly efficient. But obviously, there's still a significant difference between our two societies, and it is generated by technology, as mentioned, because technology has made our lives significantly more convenient, and that week there for me was pretty tough because it was a beautiful experience, but it's not exactly comfortable, especially comparing to the life that we're accommodated in our lives. For example, the roads were extremely bumpy, and so when we were going up the mountain, at the middle of the mountain, we had to get off the car and walk ourselves all the way up, because that was just how uncomfortable the ride was. And also, I know everyone just had dinner, so I apologize in advance for bringing this up, but their idea of toilets are basically these wooden buckets that they clear out per week, probably. So after this whole experience, I just told myself, wow, Helen, good job, you survived it. But then it hit me that, yeah, for me, it's an experience or an adventure that I have, and then I probably throw behind me, forget about it, and get on with my life later. But then for them, this is their life. It's not something they survive in or they get over with. It's the life that they live in, and they have to live with for their whole lives. And I remember at the end of the week, we were giving out eyeglasses to these elders, and in the end, we ran out. And basically, these 5 elders, they were holding this one pair of glasses, and they went straight to the announcement board with the biggest smile on their faces. And they were looking at this announcement board over and over again, passing around the glasses with each other. And it just makes you think that maybe for most of their lives, they're wondering what the world really looked like or what was written on that announcement board. But they were never able to find out because they never had sufficient equipment to support that. But so yeah, I guess technology-wise, our societies are more advanced. And the most trivial things like eyeglasses, if we bring it to them, it can make a huge impact on their lives. And yet after this whole experience, I still feel like I'm the one who was the most impacted, influenced, and changed from that week. So back to my first question. While we call them an isolated village because of their lack of technology, how are we more isolated in a way? And how has technology restricted us? Well, Mr. C, he has this concept that I find really interesting. So basically, everyone has 5 senses, right? And when you meet someone, you could see them, you could speak to them, you could smell them, you could touch them, and while it's not encouraged, you could taste them. And but when you meet someone online, well, I guess you could see their profile picture, and in a way you are speaking to them, whether if it's through video chatting, online calling, or messaging, but only 2 of your senses are incorporated in this experience, and it's not even reaching its full capacity. And I'm not saying that everyone should just throw their computers away and start licking everyone you see on the street, because I'm not sure, but you might get in trouble for that. So, yeah. But what I am saying that we are born with 5 senses, and it'd be a shame to put it to waste. And because we'd be limiting the ways that we can experience the world. We'd be limiting what we can perceive from the world, and we'd be limiting our capacities in what ways we can understand or interact with our surroundings. But that's just on a personal level. And quoting from Mr. C again, I remember when we just arrived in the village, he said, "This is a place where hospitality is not an industry, but human nature." And it just generated so much thoughts. And throughout the experience in the week, I started to understand this more and more. Well, I guess one of the major benefits from Industrial Revolution is the specialization of labor and mass production to bring up efficiency. However, I feel like as industry has evolved, we started getting devoured into these social roles, and we forgot about the genuine, natural human-to-human contact. And I guess the implications of this is scary for me, because I think if we can industrialize hospitality, then what's stopping us from industrializing generosity or compassion or even humanity? Or have we already done that? Because nowadays, if you want to make a friend, for example, you don't have to go through the process of getting to know them, building common interests. You could send an online friend request with a message that is pre-designed by a program or a software. And I'm not saying, and I personally use these social media a lot, a little too much, and they do have their benefits. They allow you to connect with people, with your friends from even very far distances away. But this trip has made me think about, to what extent are these technology beneficial, and when should we put a stop to it and really get out, embrace the world, and see what it has to offer? Because we can't let time just idle by. And every day there's so many things passing by us, so many people, so many events that we could encounter and might not be able to encounter again. And even people who we see every day around us right now, in a few years, you might lose contact with them and become complete strangers. So I guess it's important to use the time given to us wisely. I'm not saying that technology isn't important, because it does give us a lot of information. However, I feel like more and more we have replaced this human-to-human contact with these cold medals, intangible signals, and programming codes. And we somehow lost that warmth between people. And we have replaced these stuffs, these human nature, without even realizing it. And it's crucial to really, when we're bombarded with so much information, to take a step back and really look at the situation in hand and be aware and informed of the options that we have, and understand that when we're making a choice, we're also giving up on something, and if that choice is worthwhile. And personally, I think that the opportunity cost that comes with being over-reliant and over-dependent on technology is fairly high. And yes, it's probably hard to imagine just accepting someone into your house who just randomly knocked on your door asking for a meal or a chat, but that's the type of hospitality, the type of warmth, the type of generosity that we received in that village, and that we were embraced in that village. So I guess I'd like to end my speech on a few questions and confusions I generated over the experience. Little by little, have we allowed our possessions to possess us? And after we have industrialized our society, have we allowed society to industrialize us, to industrialize our compassion, our form of expression, and even our humanity, the very core of our being that makes us genuine and ourselves? And also, what has technology truly brought forward? Is it connection or isolation? Thank you.